Welcome to Executive Insights. I'm Nasheen, Managing Partner with the IT Media Group, a CIO-centric media company. My guest today is Catherine Chick, Senior Vice President of IT with Canada Goose. In this episode, Catherine shares her view on the convergence between business and IT and her strategies for talent development. We explore Catherine's career journey of movement, risk-taking, and breaking the glass ceiling. Catherine discusses lessons learned and why she feels so optimistic about our next generation of young women. Hi, Catherine. Happy to see you and welcome to Executive Insights.
Thank you so much, Nasheen. It's great to be here.
Catherine, as the Senior Vice President of IT at Canada Goose, you're leading the technology portfolio, enabling the business at an iconic Canadian brand. You know, in today's digital world, technology is the core of every business. In fact, in some industries, including retail, we already see this convergence between business and IT. My question to you is, as a CIO, how do you ensure that the convergence is at a strategic level so that the value of technology is not diminished?
Well, I think, Nasheen, technology is pervasive in every aspect of our lives. For companies, core technology is a necessity, and innovative technology is the game changer. For me, the biggest challenge for CIOs today is to find ways to get ahead of the corporate strategy. How do we speed up enablement? How can we bring innovation to the table? How can we impact growth and operational metrics? We need to change the conversation so that executives are thinking of technology as a revenue driver rather than an operating cost. And that's where I think you see that convergence in the thinking, that it's not just a back of house function anymore. It's really a driver in the business and so core to all businesses today.
Yeah, and I think to be able to change the conversation, it's incredibly important for modern CIO to have both the business and technology skills. And equally important is, for the CIOs to lead a team who have the equal parts of technology and business skills so that they can amplify or magnify that impact. How do you develop individual talent and tech leaders that will have those well-rounded skill sets that will help them not to just earn a seat at a cross-functional table, but will also have the ability to inspire, influence, and persuade?
I think as the role of the CIO becomes more strategic, then the person in the seat and the team that develops under them needs to have a broader skill set. It's not enough to just be technical anymore, but conversely, I've seen businesses try to bring in business leaders and have them learn the technology, and that doesn't work either. It's a tough job. You actually need both. So you need to be able to speak the business language, to be able to translate that into the technical solutions. And in order to do that, you need that technical foundation and technical knowledge to understand the skills and the resources that are needed to be able to deliver. Nobody wants someone that's just going to agree and participate and then not deliver those outcomes. For the team, you touched on building talent and leadership. I think it's a very big part of each CIO's role to develop that next generation of leaders. And it's really about trusting and respecting people's capabilities, but then also seeing where they need the rounding out of those skill sets. You could have a really strong technical leader that doesn't have as much experience, at an executive meeting. I like to bring my next level with me to board meetings or executive meetings where it's appropriate and have them speak to their part. The CISO speaks to security. They're the expert. I'm not the expert in that field, and they should be the ones that present that work and answer the questions. These are great opportunities for the executives to see that there is not just one person, that there's a team of people that are really running the organization. And it gives that next level the opportunity to hear directly from the other executives who they hope to join one day and understand the types of things that are important in that conversation and be able to have their own voice and practice in having those conversations as well. My style is really about being authentic. It's not that I have an objective to inspire or motivate people. All I can do is show up and walk the talk. And I want people to know that they can count on me to both deliver and support them and give them the opportunities for them to take those next steps.
Yeah, providing the opportunities for someone to shadow is a great strategy. It's no doubt that talent is critical to the success of any organization, but talent development is not just the responsibility of a leader. And I would argue it is the responsibility of every single individual, because the willingness to take initiative, being self-driven and self-direct is so immensely important to one's career progression. Looking back at the early days of your career, did you always know what you wanted, or was there a pivotal event that might have brought clarity to you?
I think my career has been one of movement. I haven't stayed in any organization more than 5 years at this point. I wouldn't say that was intentional. I think it's really about looking for the opportunities. So I don't have a traditional background. I have a Bachelor of Science in microbiology and an MBA. And I had to gain all of my technology experience through working. So in the almost 3 decades that I've been working, I've gained those skills. And as I've gained different types of skills, I've had the opportunity to move into different career paths. So starting in management consulting, moving into project management, moving into IT operations, and then finally sort of bringing all 3 of those things together in a CIO role. I think the pivotal moment perhaps in my career was really kind of taking the leap and being brave when I was headhunted from Vancouver to Seattle. So geographically, it's not a far distance, but it is still a cross-border move with all of the challenges and complexities that come with that, as well as the cultural differences. Again, not geographically far, but it's definitely different working in the US versus working in Canada. And I initially turned that offer down. That was in the pre-Y2K days. The market was super hot for management consulting. And I was leaving the firm that I was with, but I already had 2 job offers in Vancouver. And I got a random call one day and I said, no, I'm not going to go for the interview in Seattle. And I remember that the recruiter asked me this question, and it was, what do you have to lose? And I thought, you know what? I actually don't have anything to lose. I mean, I can just go down and say no, and then I would have at least had that experience. So I went down, and of course, they managed to do a great job in selling the opportunity. And that started a 9-year career in Seattle. So to this day, I would say that's the pivotal question that I continue to ask myself as I make my career moves is, what do you have to lose?
So well said. Saying yes to opportunities and putting yourself out of the comfort zone, because I'm a firm believer that growth only happens when we're out of our comfort zone. So now that, nearly 3 decades later, since you said yes to that opportunity and ask yourself, what do I have to lose? Now you're an accomplished executive with a wealth of knowledge and experience in a number of industries in both the public and private sectors. What are some of the key lessons you've learned along the way?
I think first and foremost, I alluded to it previously, was because of my non-traditional background, I've always been in a catch-up stage in terms of the learning. And in a way, I think that's almost better. Because you don't know, you are in this mindset of continuous learning. And I continually learn today. In the technology field, nobody knows everything. The ground is shifting constantly. And whoever is expert right now won't be expert if they don't stay current. So that has really done me well. Continuous learning is something that keeps you interested in your field. It lets you see other opportunities, and it also lets you demonstrate and add value to the organization that you're with. So that's, a really big lesson for me, and something that, I really encourage people to do is continuous learning. I think another one is the lone female, and now as an executive, often the lone person who is not white. The thing that I go back to is, how you treat people and how you think of yourself is really so important to how you show up and how you end up executing in your career and your life. If I look at my actions, and if I feel that I have integrity, then I can always look back and stand by my actions. And in the good times, that's always good and easy. It's easy for everyone to do the right thing in the good times. It's a lot harder in the hard times. And I've gone through a lot of different challenges in my life and in my career. And I think being able to look back and think about the fact that I wouldn't have done things differently is something that builds confidence in yourself, that while the decisions aren't always maybe the perfect ones, and maybe you've made mistakes along the way, if you've done them with the right intent and the right integrity, I think you can always look back and feel that you've learned something from that, and also be proud of how you've behaved and how you've shown up in the world.
Being curious, having a beginner's mindset, and insisting on the integrity factor and using that as your guiding principle. That is so important. I wanted to explore this topic of glass ceiling, or trying to break the glass ceiling, because as an Asian growing up in North America, a woman pursuing a path of technology and making it all the way to the C-suite, having to deal with adversities and often playing with the odds that might not have been in your favors. How did you overcome? And if you had to give your daughter some advice, what would it be?
Yeah, I think I do think that the concept of the glass ceiling is real, and something that I've experienced. I think both in my personal life as well as in my career. Growing up as an Asian female, I came from an educated family. My parents immigrated to Canada for postdoctoral work. So it was a different perspective. But on the other hand, it was still the Asian culture, and there is still an unspoken expectation of what it means to be female in the Asian culture. And then in the workplace, being in the technology field, I entered a very male-dominated field, which is still majority male today, although we do have a growing female base. And it's the same issue of that, a little bit of a cultural norm issue with, it's normal to have all males. And being the woman makes people perhaps uncomfortable or not at ease. And I would say that's one thing that one of the big hurdles that I've always faced is the fact that the expectation is always that I'm supposed to be the one that makes other people comfortable. There's never any thought to making me feel at ease. And so it's not a complaint, it's just a fact. There are times I would say that I get tired of always being the one that has to break the trail. But then I remember that the reason I'm doing this is for everybody else behind me, that if I can go as far as I can, then it paves the way for them to continue and go further than I've gone. And I think I do take heart in that knowledge. And when it gets tiring or it gets frustrating, that I remember that. And I do think of my daughter and other daughters that are behind me. And I think that this next generation really does give me hope. I would say that the progress from my mother's generation to mine has actually been very minimal. I think the progress from my generation to my daughters is actually much greater. This up and coming group of young adults really have this confidence as females that I admire. There's not 1 ounce of doubt in them that they are just as good as their male counterparts. I don't see that at all. There's no, if anything, I would say my daughter, she has 2 older brothers, and her hopes and dreams are probably more ambitious than theirs. And there's no concept in her life of the fact that, well, you can't do that because you're a girl. She's never grown up with that idea. And I really encourage her to dream big, work hard, and keep trying. Because even though her path might not be what she imagines at 17 years old, if she follows that advice, her path will be amazing and it will be whatever it ends up being. And so for all girls out there, I really hope that they can take some inspiration from the work that's been done ahead of them and then just carry that through and see where that takes them. And I'll be really admiring and cheering them on from the side and really, applauding the success of that next future generation.
Yeah, all I can say is ditto. And here's to us and our daughters. Thank you so much, Catherine, for such an insightful and heartfelt conversation. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Nasheen. A pleasure to be here.
You've been watching another episode of Executive Insights by the IT Media Group. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out other videos on our YouTube channel, including CIO roundtable conversations and executive interviews. And don't forget to subscribe